carted out of there.
Yeah.
You sell it to some big organization that
You put it in your front yard.
Yeah, it goes to your front yard, yeah.
Well, but I'm saying, you're wholesaling it.
Empty paper.
Nurseries.
The nurseries in it, right, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also he takes, Roger was telling me that he would take leaves and branches and so forth to take home.
Yeah, the leaves and brush.
Yeah, he doesn't take stumps, he doesn't take pallets, he doesn't take any of those things. But also the town of Goshen, of course, would be able to bring all that stuff right there on Hartley Road rather than bring it to, don't take a lot to Pulaski Highway now?
Pulaski Highway, yeah.
They're running out there 8-9 miles, right?
Right.
They can bring it right to Hartley Road.
Yeah, as long as it's clean material.
Yeah,
Right.
the road comes down to.
Okay.
It's from the road and clean, it's fine.
You know, and the bark comes right from the sawmills, you know, it's bark, it's all natural. So it's, you know, it's high-end product, it's not.
Right.
Of course, he's very limited to his trucks also, as far as, how many trucks do you
Three.
anticipate? Yeah.
Great, so, I mean, your busy time is definitely mulch season.
Right.
But, yeah, after that it slows down.
You sell a lot of your mulch to local establishments, do you?
Yeah, I mean, most of my business is Jersey.
Okay.
You know, once I get up here, I'll be, you know, I'll
Be
start
bigger,
marketing here.
right, sure.
Some of them you have them all.
Yeah, I have a couple of accounts up here.
Good.
But I'm on a real little spot, you know, down by us, and that's, they're actually developing the land that I'm on. That's what,
Move you off.
right.
You were only on, what, an acre?
Yeah, a little over 8 acres.
Okay, so, board, I guess for Thursday night then, we'll, Dennis, we'll a resolution to?
Yeah, I recommend that, obviously, you want to discuss it tonight.
Yeah,
Either
we will.
now or after.
Yeah.
And then Thursday night, assuming there's no objection to it, you would adopt your lead agency status with the reference being to the planning board
Right.
to process the seeker studies at the same time to do the seeker studies on the site plan.
Right.
Meaning it's more or less an acknowledgement that barring some other issue arising, which some other board would discover, studies or otherwise,
Right.
that you are not opposed to the grant for the special use permit.
Right.
Is there an application process? Are we giving approval on something that there's no application on?
Well, you won't. What you're doing is, in concept,
Yeah.
okay, going to the planning board. The application is the site plan. Once the planning board has reviewed that and they're ready for approval, they would make their recommendation to you on the special use permit.
And at that time...
At that time, you'd act on it simultaneously or...
So what are you talking about Thursday? I don't...
Oh, lead agency status.
Giving these people the go ahead to go to the planning board with the application.
Yeah.
That's alive and well, and that,
Yeah, the thought being, Phil, like with a lot of things come before the board, if for whatever reason you didn't like this concept, in fairness to the applicant, now's the time to cut it off.
Well, see, that's the problem.
Right.
We don't want to lead anybody on. I'm
Correct.
more concerned about leading someone on, then finding out, you know what, this project really doesn't fit
Right.
anything because it's, I mean, there are issues that we don't know about DEC.
Right.
And then later on,
But
get
that's-
sued.
right.
And then, yeah, you can't, you guys, you said, yeah, go ahead. And now, you know.
But if you notice, the risk is in the environmental aspects.
Yes.
Which we're not gonna do.
we're not going to do that. Right.
No, that's where the risk is.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they go into that, no.
But I think in terms of the,
Good.
but I think in
Good.
terms of the town, with this parcel of land, with what the end use that they want to use, how do we feel about it at this juncture?
That's right.
Confident enough that they can go to the application process, the environmental reviews, et cetera, and if they can get through that, then I guess we say, okay, when the recommendation comes to
I don't
us.
see any strain on the infrastructure here.
No.
It's a good rate, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't, but I just want to make sure that
No, I agree with you.
Do you anticipate any stench or odor that would permeate the area, especially as you go out to the residential area?
Right, I've been there a couple times.
Yeah, we've been in.
They might be looking forward to me there.
You know something, you rather than that.
Okay.
No, whenever you compost, you get somewhat of an odor, but, you know, if you stay on top of it, and you put the piles where you're supposed to, maintain them, you get very minimal odor.
Right.
So,
When you're in the middle of Paramus, the house is like with
I've been, I like the
25,
guys,
50 feet.
Yeah.
You know,
They're not
everyone
going to
thinks
make
they're
it.
gonna
I was down there.
Yeah, so you can see the other people around us that are doing the same.
How long have you been in business there?
25, well, in Paramus, since 98.
Okay.
but I've been doing it since '88.
Okay, but the people in that locale around where their homes,
Yeah, I have never had a
You-
complaint.
Haven't had a complaint.
well, that's a good sign.
Yeah, trouble. You don't have to worry about the houses around.
A lot of houses, that's all you think about, when you're grinding, when you're flipping, that's all you take consideration down, there's the neighbors.
So I'm just, it has no bearing on my rescue concept, so there's a lot of guns get flying around, that would be his fault.
Right.
Not no bearing on my decision.
No, there shouldn't be that, you know.
I don't know if there's much stuff.
You know, we keep it
I
really
know it's across the
organized
street,
and
so
neat.
you can't be any.
We're gonna clean up.
Oh, yeah.
Take a look.
Is it fair to say that this will basically be shielded from all the roads, but at berm?
Oh, no, that was really nice.
They're
mean,
down in the
sidewalk,
hole.
you're not getting- yeah.
No, they're down in the hole, 60 feet
That's
down.
what I mean. That's in almost the entire portion.
Yeah.
And this is not our first look at this. We've had discussions with these people before.
Right.
When they
Different
came,
parcel.
another time on a different
Right. No, I
parcel.
understand.
So we asked a lot of technical questions and a lot of background information, so I'm comfortable with having the background.
To show you anytime.
Yeah, right.
Okay, well, then I guess what I hear is on Thursday night, we will go through we'll discuss it, but we will then work with our attorney to say, okay, basically, we'll become the lead agency, you can make application to the planning board, proceed on with all the things you need to do, your site plan, et cetera. So I think what I hear tonight is tentatively okay.
And I believe that they're gonna be using Tom's computer and engineer,
Okay.
site plan and so forth. Just so you gentlemen know. Okay.
All right, good. Well, thank you.
Now, for Thursday, we need,
I don't think so.
here or?
No.
No, I don't see the motion.
No? Okay, so this is only a, particularly that since this is a special use permit versus a zoning change.
Well, maybe I can get a training for somebody, you know?
Yeah, as long as we got one, that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
All right.
Alrighty, guys. Okay, the next one is, we have a letter from Lisa Chutka, who is from the assessing group. She is resigning from the town of Goshen assessing group, and she's going up to Walk Hill as their new assessor. So we have a letter of resignation. Would someone like to make a motion to accept this letter of resignation effective September 24th, 2012?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion?
Yeah, I have one question, I don't know whether you know, have an answer to it now, but you mentioned here accruals remaining. Is there any kind of like buyout or anything that's happening there?
She'll have to work this out for the contract that we have with CSEA and the budget office.
We don't have any idea of what
No.
that's going on.
Even doing this.
But,
Any accumulated vacation time just left over, which is due and payable to her, is what that is.
that's it.
Okay.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. The next one is, we're going to have to go through this local law 1-2012. The legal notice that we had the last time did not get published in the Independent Republican for one reason or another. So we're going to have to do it again. And it says, I guess, well, this notice is for the town board of the town of Goshen will hold a public hearing at 7:35 or soon thereafter as a matter can be heard on the 22nd day of October 2012.
Dennis called this afternoon, and I set the date.
So that's the way it is then, right?
Well, that's target, it doesn't have to be.
No, that's what, okay,
Yeah.
right. Okay, would someone like to make a motion relative to this legal
So
notice?
moved, second.
And the records will reflect that you already have in front of you from the last instance or meeting, the text of the local law.
That's right, I was just reading that.
Okay.
Okay, so, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Did we ever get to the bottom of why it wasn't published, or is that?
I think the email went to,
The email
Wrong
didn't get
address,
through to them, and usually I ask for the confirmation, and I don't know, we were busy, and I didn't, and unfortunately, when I went for it, it was too late.
Okay, that's fine. Well, at least we know what it was. I mean,
Yeah.
we got the right email addresses, et cetera. Okay, the next one, discuss and approve resolution to settle Woodland Estates tax certiorari is not ready.
Yeah, why that's not ready is because the petitioner has yet to submit papers which are accurate in reflecting the agreed-upon consent judgment, and no explanation. I spoke with the school district attorney today, and he has no explanation as to why the petitioner, Woodland Estates, represented by Mr. Dorfman,
Yeah. But they made a tentative agreement with the school, right? He was the one that was involved in it.
yes, but the documents as prepared by the petitioner do not reflect what was agreed to. I mean, they left out paragraphs, they've got incomplete sentences.
Who agreed? Us or?
Both. In other words, what happened was, as you are aware, the school district is an intervener, and we had negotiation sessions at length with Dorfman on behalf of Woodland Estates, and we arrived at a settlement as recommended by the board, the committee, and as recommended by the attorney for the school district.
Right.
But in order to formally present it to this board and to that board, school, we have to have the text which properly reflects the agreed-upon settlement. And literally, the paperwork is submitted, it's like going through a divorce and you're dropping someone else's kids. I mean, it's just, it's impossible.
This paperwork is submitted by the applicant, or by the...
Right, to avoid costs to the taxpayers in the town.
Sure.
We make the applicants prepare the text of the consent judgments and the order, and then they submit them to us, we sign off on them, and they go to the court. You would see them also. They're not in the
You
proper
have no
form.
idea whether this will be ready by Thursday.
It's been going on for 2 months now.
I doubt it.
Yeah, it's...
Well, I'm gonna say what I'm gonna do.
I just want to make sure the board's clear that we literally, in fact, even Sharp confirmed this to me. He has had conferences with Dorfman.
Right.
We both send them separate emails, and I think, I suspect what he probably does is he has a staff of paralegals, and he just assigns it to one of them. They are either lost or don't know how to do it, and we're not about to do it for them.
You know, but you know what I see at this point? Enough, that's enough.
Yeah.
With all due respect.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to pay you any more money.
I
and
understand.
I don't think the school board should pay
Sharp.
Sharp any more money.
Agreed.
If this guy is not submitting it, then we do have a tax cert. We've spent so much time
Yes,
coming to a settlement that he agreed upon. I think you should just stop.
Yeah, basically
The
what we've
ball is
done.
in his court. You guys stop.
But that's why I wanted to make sure you understood.
Yeah.
It was on the agenda.
We do.
And it's off. In fact,
Okay, well, it's off the agenda.
Take it
And
off.
we will, when
it off the
you get the
right. Or needless money is being expended. And just so the board's aware, this was done in open court, so the court's been notified and settled, so it's not as if we're going to be prejudiced in any way. He's got to get his paperwork in.
We just don't want
Okay.
to spend any
It's
more
like you're handing in a term paper. You got to hand it in.
Yeah.
Well,
you don't get credit.
when you hear from him, let us know.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, the next one is, Robert, I wonder if you could give us the status of the home
We're doing
sewer
a budget
inspection.
now, Jerry.
Hill Swing Park, now, you can do. You can see it.
He's gotten a good share, baby.
You could be here for a while. Bring yourself
I thought Michelle was supposed to be here
Oh,
tonight.
yeah.
Was Michelle coming tonight too?
Yeah.
No? No.
Think it is.
I was kidding.
They're just giving you a tough time.
You should have got.
I don't know, hey, listen, I don't know what this board had for dinner tonight.
You should have.
Nothing.
That's why, that's why they're so anxious, okay.
Possible.
All right.
Your resting's on.
All right, so you should all have a summary sheet with today's dates. I'll just run through it. We'll start with Hamiltonian Park. There are 167 homes on the sewer system. There were 76 homes previously inspected based on the initial voluntary sign-up inspections. That was, I think, 2010 or even earlier. Then in our newest round in 2012, we inspected 91 homes, or visited. 66 were found to be clear with no pumps or drains or anything. There were 3 homes with pumps. 2 of them have been corrected and re-inspected. 1 is pending. We have 21 homes where people were either not home or did not answer. One person refused access, and one home is vacant. And if we go down to Arcadia Hills, 243 homes, 63 previously inspected, 180 visited on our latest round. 135 homes were cleared with no pumps or drains. 4 homes were found with pumps. 1 of those has been corrected and re-inspected, and 3 are pending. And then we have 35 homes that we did not get anyone to answer, and we have 6 vacant homes.
Now, you've been to each of these homes twice, correct?
No. In Hamiltonian Park, yes, they were all visited twice. I told you today that I went through the paperwork, and we have some in Arcadia Hills that
Just once?
were only visited once. So
Okay.
we'll make another round to
And we had sent a letter out back in 2010, or whatever it was, as I recall, asking people to call us for an appointment.
correct.
So this has been ongoing, just trying to get to the bottom of this. Now, Dennis, one that refuses in Hamiltonian Park, what do we do in a case like this?
In the case of all of them, your only relief, if you will, is to proceed in Supreme Court on an action to gain access to the residences and make an inspection.
I really don't think in this one case where access was refused that it was malicious. I think it was an older woman, and I think she just might have felt a little
Or
scared.
she may have been contacted again. It's the same thing with the houses that either have not responded or was no one home.
Okay.
You have no alternative. You
No,
can
that's
persist in your efforts, or eventually, if there is an obstinate refusal for no valid reason,
Okay.
you have to gain
So-
access.
We talked about writing the people that weren't home
Yeah.
and then asking them to schedule, maybe making it a little pointed.
The only point I get concerned about, just so the board's aware too, is that obviously the highway department is taking its time
Yeah.
for those special districts. The taxpayers, general taxpayers are paying,
No, this is done by the Water and Sewer Department.
solely.
Solely.
Okay.
So they're paying for it themselves.
Okay, and properly so, that's where it should go.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
if
what it's called.
if highway people are involved, they're charged.
They're charged
Charging
for water
the
and sewer.
district. Okay.
Yeah, Water and sewer is paying for this.
Yeah.
So the real issue is, we have 21 Hamiltonian Park and 35 in Arcadia Hills.
Right.
We've been fussing with this for 3 years. I think that a letter saying within 7 to 10 days, we need to schedule us. Because we've been to some of these homes once, twice, whatever it is. Now, the other thing I've got a question on, what happens if we don't hear from them then, so we don't regroup? What recourse do we have?
The board would have to, by resolution, authorize me to bring appropriate court proceedings.
Okay.
Yeah, this is very similar to the other issue which we'll probably discuss tonight, termination or shut-off of water or sewer.
Yes.
Same concept. You can't do any of these types of things without a proper either request, accent, or by the homeowner or a court order.
Can you, well, in that particular case, can you assess the fees, legal fees and whatever, on that household that denies you?
You could certainly attempt to, much like we do on the cleanups. Correct.
Right, rather than having the whole district pay for this one
Right.
person.
The only problem with that is, if you follow, it's like similar to a class action. If you had 35 non-compliant homes, you could do one action against 35 homeowners. If you want to do 35 separate actions, it gets terribly expensive,
No.
but it's to the individuals.
No, but can we just bill them for the time? And is there like a scenario that you can strike an average and say, if you are violating this thing, it's to the tune of this, and we're assessing you this many dollars, unless you prove otherwise. In other words, you say, we're going to charge you the full, it's like going on the thruway. You go through and I lost my ticket, okay, then pay the full, from Buffalo down to
Unfortunately, that cannot be utilized. It's
Okay.
individual case, individual expense. It's more or less similar to a default judgment you obtain, which are true actual costs for that particular action.
Well,
We don't
I think in this letter that we put in here.
But they shouldn't be threatened with it.
We ought to say,
Put them just for.
we ought to say that we would like within 7 to 10 days or whatever, you to respond to us and make an appointment, so we can come out and check it. In the event you don't, legal action will be taken.
With an additional expense possible.
And any other cost of action
And
or
I think that Dennis can give you the words around that, whatever it is, how to say it, so that people know then that, if I don't call, then the next step is I'm going to be dealing with some lawyer.
Is there any way to make the letter a little bit welcoming, by saying something to the nature of, let's just take Arcadia, all right? 200 and some of your fellow neighbors have already allowed us, but there's a few that haven't, so they get the feeling that everybody's doing, it isn't
Right,
a big
not
thing,
legalized.
and it's, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Trying to make it warm and fuzzy, like, we're not going in there trying to find something, that
But I think
we
they should be aware that.
But no, the rest of the letter should be what you just said.
The rest of we're not doing it.
I agree with Lou.
We're not doing it as a board, the rest of their neighbors will be paying for this action.
Yeah, but-
That's not
Well,
fair.
but we've been doing this since 2010.
No,
This is not the first time.
no.
No,
And
what I'm trying to say is, put the fear, but
Start off nice.
welcome
So I don't even
to
want to do that,
We got
I just
big
want them to know that all their neighbors
have done it.
are going to be paying for it.
Well, what we can say is, of the 167,
Yeah,
91 have already completed it.
right.
We have 21 remaining, and we would like you to call within the next 7 to 10 days to make an appointment. In the event you don't,
That's it.
then we're going to have to proceed on with legal action.
That's it.
However,
And you can soften it, I don't point. In the event of legal action, any of the costs will be your responsibility. The town does not wish to impose this obligation on you, but you've got to
Right.
cooperate. We've asked in the past, and for whatever reason, we haven't heard from you, things of that nature.
Well, just write the letter. Right?
Yeah.
So I think then, when you write the
Michelle
letter,
wrote the letter.
Yeah.
when Michelle writes the letter,
She's
we
not-
need Dennis to look at it as well. But I think we need to get on with this thing because, it's pretty encouraging that you found
Yeah.
7 of them.
Yeah.
And 7 sump pumps going into the sanitary sewer creates a lot of I&I. That's
Absolutely.
good.
What was the reaction? I'm curious, did they automatically apologetic, remove the sump pumps? What was the normal reaction?
People seemed unaware that some people didn't even know they had the sump pump.
I can understand that.
Oh, yeah, they bought the house and they
Yeah.
put in
But
years ago.
I don't know that's what's said.
Yeah.
So-
Some people haven't, but don't know where they go to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And
I think they think just because that's back out.
yeah, the downspouts connected right
Well,
around,
as long as some of these homes have been in place, these homes
Yeah,
have
you
been
never know.
sold
You
2 or
don't-
3 times.
Sure.
And a woman living there by herself or a gentleman living by themselves, they have no idea where that, they just know it comes on and the water goes, yeah. Shouldn't be any blame here, this is,
Did that big guy remove his in Hamiltonian without using names?
Yes.
He took care of it, but that was a bit, that's a definitely a very, very large,
Dennis, I'm hoping it doesn't have to happen, but you did mention Supreme Court. Couldn't we handle this in town court?
No.
It would seem like it'd be much easier.
I know it would be, but the only plenary action you can do in town court is evictions, which are, again, landlord-tenant. Those are basically limitless, but in terms of real property, it's Supreme Court. For the paramount, protection of property rights, etc., it's historical, more than anything else.
okay.
That's where we'd have to go.
Well, it's mainly to protect all the other residents, because
You got it.
That's it.
they're paying for that.
Right, it can be imposed upon them, yeah.
Well-
Really, it's not fair to the district, the people that live there, they take care of their things, so.
Well, we're under the gun
Yeah.
also from the DEC to
Right, yeah.
work on
Right.
I&I, and
I&I,
this is the,
yeah.
we're doing what's required by law
Yeah.
and regulation. Okay. Roderick, thank you for that recap,
Yeah.
that's good.
thank you.
Okay, the next one is authorize the DPW superintendent to process an RFP request for pricing to rehab sanitary sewer manholes. Can you lead us through this, Roderick?
Yeah, this is obviously an ongoing process. We wanted to do a certain number this year based on what we had available in the two sewer districts financially. But as we started to talk to Dennis, we realized that since this was going to go year after year, that we really needed to go out to bid, that you couldn't piecemeal it together. Now, I talked to Sean Hoffman, and one of the problems we've hit is, let's say for all intents and purposes, we were going to do 10 this year or 8 this year, and then next year there was going to be another round. Sean felt that you really needed to be specific about what you were doing, and we made the decision that the water and sewer department would determine what needed to be done. So now it becomes a little difficult to put an RFP together. It's fine to do it for 10 this year, and like Sean said, you know, if you had a winning bidder and next year you found a couple and you said, could you do them for that price, that's not a problem, but you couldn't do 10 this year and then 100 next year or whatever
All the same
number.
right.
So then we're kind of, the ones we were looking at for this year were like in depth. That's one thing, obviously, to rehabilitate a 8-foot manhole is different than a 18-foot. So we're going to keep them all the same. But are we going to get so that we need to bid that out every year? And I think that's a question for discussion.
Well, I would think about power, because each one is different.
Each group, well, in theory,
From a contract, talking about the
yeah.
bid, how can I give you a price? Because this one is 2 days' work, that one's 2 hours' work.
What you end up with is not a price, a total price, it's a price for the type of manhole. So you'll have a price and it might be, let's say it's $1,500 for an 8-foot manhole.
Okay.
You'll have another manhole that it might be in bad shape and that top cone can't be fixed, and maybe you've got the manhole ring itself is bad, so some of them you might have.
Well, that's what I'm looking.
So you're gonna get it's gonna be like an a la carte menu.
Okay.
One of those you might put a free cast cone on.
One may have a whole totally different cost.
You might go.
Right, you might have an $8,000 manhole.
Yeah, like that.
We're getting a
Tap
hum.
it.
You know?
You get feedback?
We're getting a hum.
Just hit the-
I just want to know where your mic is. You need to use it.
Oh, okay, mine's on. Inspection results of the sewer and water as to what needs to be done, whatever number of manholes. Because you can't segmentize that unless you public bid it right from the get-go. Well, in other words, you can't do 10 this year and 10 next year and piggyback on the first bid.
Right.
So it would be another.
But you could go do 10 that go out to bid,
Right.
and then next year, obviously, the full year will be more,
Correct.
and that would be another public.
That's right, be another bid.
I have a couple questions. First of all, we're talking about two different water districts, water sewer districts.
We talked about that
Well,
today.
we talked about this today. Two separate districts which have two separate funding, all right, which I'm sure, Bill, they'll both get paid out of two separate checking accounts.
Yes, it did.
All right, so in that aspect, when you go out for bid for 10, you're really going out, since the checking account where the district is paying, that bid is for the, let's say, 5 each. That's really for 5, right? Because,
Or whatever number.
no, I'm just trying to think
Right.
through this and see. Then the other aspect of it, if you take that into consideration, we just passed something a couple of weeks ago about how much you have to go out to bid when it's 35,000 or more.
Yeah.
something like this might be 7,000-8,000 for 5. Could you get proposals, or you have to do an RFP?
You have to do an RFP, because it's contemplated that you're gonna do more than 5. You know, I mean, next year is gonna be, you know, you can't segmentize it. You can't break a 20-unit project down into 4 or 5s.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying it that way because of the fact that, you know, we might do it next year, we might not do it next year. I'm just, you know,
Believe it or not, the
there's always
timing,
what ifs.
yeah, but the timing aspect is not the problem. It's the contemplation of the work. And if these manholes need to be refurbished, or whatever the case might be, whether you do them this year or 2 years from now, that's gonna be one of
But
the...
because it's a lot less than 35, you still have to do an RFP.
Yeah, because it's contemplated, you're gonna be addressing those other same type units.
But Dennis, you know, if we do, I mean, the thing is, we established as a board, we're gonna spend $50,000 in Hamilton Park, or $50,000, I think it was, in Arcadia Hills, to inspect and repair, work on this I-9. Now, we've spent some money on the inspection part, that's already, and so each one of them has a different amount of money left over. So we're gonna go out and do 5, 10, depending on
Whatever, yeah.
how much money we have, okay? Now, when you go out for an RFP, it costs money.
Yeah?
Every year, this is gonna cost money. It doesn't seem quite right that, because we may spend more for the RFP than we're gonna spend on the work. I mean, by the time I don't know. If you were gonna do 2, I could see where that might happen.
Yeah. Or how many, you cite them all now and try and get one master bid. Paul?
That would take quite a while.
I don't know. Well, you say take quite a while, to prepare the bid, or to actually physically do it? Oh, yeah, that actually be, okay, well, that's the point, though. You know, you have to do one way or the other.
Well, maybe the better part of Valor is, if we go out and inspect how many manholes in Hamilton Park? 110? 130, and so Arcadia Hill's got that many more. By the time we go out and inspect all of these, you number them and you record what you find, probably the amount of money we've got left to spend to rehab them will be spent just doing that. So then, evidently, probably the time to go out for competitive bids is in the spring and do it for all of them.
Correct.
Rather than trying to do some now, some later. But it really does get us behind on this I&I work that we could be doing right up front.
Well, see, you're using your sewer and water operators to determine what needs to be done in each manhole?
Well, it'll be, because we now only have one full-timer in the board, so we'll supplement with someone to help him.
It'll be charged, though, to water and sewer.
Yeah, it's all
It'll be
charged.
people now.
Highway guy will get charged over to
Yeah, there's really, unless you want to bid that aspect of it out, a service of that nature, you have no choice. Because every manhole's going to be different, I would assume.
They are. I'm just trying to think of the I&I. I mean, every day that goes by, we know we have a problem. At 10 up right now, we've got it fixed.
Well,
that's
we
what-
tried to do, Dennis,
Yeah.
just so you know, we tried to hit ones that we knew
We're really bad.
were bad.
Yeah, that would make sense to me.
To go and get that low-hanging fruit and
Right.
tend to those issues.
The best return for the buck.
See, I fail to believe, Doug, that once your RFP is established,
Right.
why would you believe it would be so expensive to redo another one next year?
RFP?
Yeah.
They're $1,500. I mean, we just had one for this Legion. It was $1,500, $750 for the town, $750 for the village. That's just the building.
Oh, yeah, but that was cheap.
And that was real cheap. That was real cheap.
We didn't charge for the RFP, the writing the RFP itself.
Right. So, I mean, it could be a lot of money.
Right. That would have been $5, $6, $7 grand.
Yep.
There you go.
Well, he's got an RFP copy of somebody else's in 60 pages?
62 pages.
62 pages.
And I will hope to have prices this week on what
The RFP would be.
the RFP would be.
Well, maybe what we can do is, let me put this idea on the table. You identify 5 in one location, 10 in the other, whatever it is you want to do this year. We come up, that RFP should not be too expensive because it's minimal. We process it, we do the work, then starting in January when we have a new season,
Right.
we go out with your folks and we try to categorize and catalog all the remaining ones. So we go out with one mammoth RFP in the spring.
Which
And
would
it's-
probably go for several
And it may take you several years to finish it,
Correct.
but you got it. Does that seem reasonable?
Yeah, because you've got to inspect them. You're going to have to develop some type of litany on each one.
I'm also
And you do want to get going on it.
And I do want to see one or two done, so I can see whether it's going to work or not.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And just putting it off for another year, we've been doing that for years,
Yeah.
it's time we get on with it, guys.
Let's just go out and bid.
October already.
Yeah, I bid the worst ones,
Bid
5,
the worst
10,
ones,
whatever it is.
5 or 10, and see where we go on them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
You know, just get
All right.
that done.
so that's our answer then.
Yeah.
So we'll bid out this year for an RFP for what we want to do in
Right.
this year, 2012.
Yep.
All right. And then after the first of the year, we will, regroup and find out what it's going to take to do the entire RFP.
You just got to be aware and sensitive to the numbers. If you're only appropriate 50/50, right?
Right. Oh, no, now, we don't have to go out on RFP on it'd be one for both
Well,
subdivisions, correct?
that was Lou's question, do we need to do it per district?
Won't it be by manhole? It won't be, doesn't matter where the
Yeah, it
manhole
shouldn't
is.
matter what district it's in, but you're going to have to keep accurate
We're
records
gonna have
without
about 300 manholes, and that manhole 83 is gonna cost you.
But the contractor would have to be made aware that his invoices would have to reflect
Oh, sure.
which district they're working.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's okay, right, Bill? As long as...
Yep, it can be broken apart.
All right.
And just so you know, each district, I mean, he's gonna go out for bid, I don't think the 5 each would be that big of a problem. But each one has a certain amount of money left to go out and do that.
Right.
Right, Bill?
Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
But how long do you process, like, puts it out, gets the bids back, how long? I hit it, it's October.
It's October,
That
that really is going to depend.
First, cold weather gonna hurt.
First, we have to get the price, and then we have to prove them to go. I think,
Let's see if the contract's available when, nowhere.
well, yes.
I ain't worried about the time, because
Well-
cold weather should come.
It is, but at the same time, I mean, down in the ground, if you're gonna be using concrete and whatnot, it's a whole lot warmer there
Sure.
than above the tent. So you can do
All
this
right.
in cold weather, but you can't do it in snow. So it's gotta be done between certainly now and the first part of December, I should think.
Yeah, and the ones that we're selecting now, I don't, unless, once they get into them a little bit, they found some damage that was beyond what you would think from an inspection. But these aren't ones that we would want to be digging out and cutting up the street.
Right.
These would be rehabbed from inside, where they'd be charged up and epoxied and...
Well, do your best on it, and you know what? The worst case scenario is you can't get to them because of the onset of cold weather. Do them as soon as you can in the spring. I mean, because you got the RFP that's still germane for them.
Well, it would.
Okay. Good discussion, but I'm glad to hear it and see it going on. George, you want to talk about the
Can we
next?
skip to number 10, because that's Robert's also?
Sure.
What, do you think he wants to go home?
Next, item number 10 is to authorize the
No,
DPW
Bill wants to
superintendent
go.
to purchase. Number 10 is to authorize the DPW superintendent to purchase a 2011 leftover Chevrolet small dump truck, model 35500 HD, four-wheel drive, at a cost not to exceed $38,587.05. Now, according to Bill, that money is in the budget. It's pay cash. So,
Okay, and you all have a little sheet as to what that is. For those of you that don't know, this is a replacement for our Dodge small dump, our truck number 12. That's had numerous problems, transmissions slipping and overheating, probably wouldn't get through another winter without, and I believe that's had its fourth transmission in it, and
What year is that?
that's a 2001.
2001.
And that has a lot of body rot also. We had to do the doors started to come off. We had that fixed, and they said the floorboards were going, and so...
So you intend that this was to go forth and the other one would come off the road?
Yes.
Phil, you want to talk about your work on this?
We're good. I talked to Rob Green, who's a former dealer of mine, and to see if my quote to him is, we need to squeeze, if we can, some juice out of the tournament. And he said, you have it all. He said, it was a 2011, and the leftover money was already, they're on vehicles, there's a year-end leftover on some of the vehicles at the factory rebate back. If they put all of that in there, it's state bid, which expires on the 26th of September. And this is the last year he has left. Be glad to get us a 2013 on order. It would cost between $15,000 and $2,000 more, the identical vehicle. Montgomery took the last one out of two about a week or so ago. So this is it. And he's trying to get an extension on the state bid for this vehicle if we needed more discussion, but he doesn't know if he can or not. I don't think he's able to because it's so old. So I said we'd be meeting on the 24th. We batted the whole thing around. We're just at cost. Once again, it's state bid. We're putting some of our own equipment back on. Is that right, Blau?
Yeah,
Roderick?
we're using, we'll put a new frame on and.
Right.
The color is the correct color, right?
Yes.
Lovely. Just so happens. Not correct for anybody else, but it's correct for us.
You want to talk about,
Go ahead.
you want the gas versus diesel?
Yeah, this is a gas truck as opposed to a diesel engine, and the truck it's replacing was a diesel engine. I was kind of not moved, but when we went and looked at some trucks that the county had brought in, and since these trucks don't seem to last, these small dumps are every day. They're probably what we use the most.
Workhorse.
And we do need them with all the cul-de-sacs and small developments we're getting. They really play a larger role in the snow removal. But since they don't last that long, and since the upcharge for a diesel pushes, you've seen some requests from highway in the past, and those were $55,000-$60,000 trucks. We'll give this gas motor a shot.
Well, the bottom line here is, if you buy a diesel, those engines last forever, but everything else in the truck doesn't last as long as the diesel. So you're spending $15,000, $18,000 more for the diesel engine. The body and the rest of it doesn't last, and secondly, you're paying a lot more for fuel. All right, so it just doesn't pay. So.
Well, it's obvious when we went over to see the county trucks.
Sure
The county trucks are gas, so.
Yeah.
All right, would somebody like to make a motion then we authorize the highway superintendent to purchase a said vehicle?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
We had it.
Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call vote on this motion?
Councilman Caterino,
Aye.
Councilman Lyons,
Aye.
Supervisor Bloomfield,
Aye.
Councilman Newbold,
Aye.
Councilman Capella.
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you. I would also, it just tickles me no end when we pay cash.
Yep.
We've been saying, we pay as we go or we don't go, we set the money aside for this vehicle and we're going to do it.
Yep.
Okay, Roger, thank you very much. I
I guess
appreciate
now we
you
just have to
coming in.
move fast.
Just call, tell
I'll call him tomorrow.
tell him Billy will give him a check in the morning.
Well, no, we don't have to pay him so fast. We just have to tell him. We could probably hold up the payment a little while.
Okay, the next item is, review the bids for demolition for the Salesian School building. If, George will lead us through this.
You want me to take this on here? Okay, first we talked about this, Doug and myself, today, and I wrote a copy over to the village because we wanted to keep the village in the loop, so the village has the same letter. And I told Meg to deliver this all to the village board members so they don't read about it in the paper and possibly get miffed or whatever, so they know as much as we know.
That's good.
And we're going to have, I guess, a meeting at some point in the future to discuss this further. So, you have a 3-page memo there. The bids came in, low bid was $386,000 by B&G Restoration of Lincoln Park, New Jersey. And then we had 3 other bids, highest being Taylor Recycling from Montgomery, New York at $648,989.
We don't have, I only have the last sheet.
We only have the,
Yeah.
So talk us through it.
Okay,
Yeah.
there was I think it was a copy in your box, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Everybody,
Yeah.
but anyway, okay. So we got 4 bids. You know what the high and low was in between is on that sheet. There are some considerations and some discussion that has to go forth here. This was offered by Dennis Lindsay, and I'll go over the highlights of it. Essentially, he says, we believe they had good interest in the project and that the low bidder's proposal is a competitive price for the current market. Also, he spoke with Mr. Howley from B&G Restoration, and he expressed some concern on the comprehensiveness of the previous asbestos reports. So essentially, what Sean and Dennis are telling us is that we should have a discussion with this Mr. Howley about the asbestos. Apparently, simply put, the issue is the asbestos, what they have from that report, true and correct, or are we going to wind up them starting to demo the building and find out that there's a lot more asbestos in there, and then therefore the price goes up, and there is some caveats in there about that. He refers to Attorney Kaplicki. Mr. Kaplicki, I believe, has, from what it says here, you got a copy of that particular proposal from B&G, and that it should be discussed and looked into further by our attorney. Also, he says you have to have adequate financing. As we know, this is going to be an issue. Half of it naturally would come from the village and half come from the town. And as I was talking about our discussion with the RFPs, if you notice in this particular one, this bid is good for 45 days. And then the vendor does not have to do it anymore. So it's a 45-day time frame when you have to make some decision. So I guess we have to get our engineer more involved and our attorney involved to see what actually is going to happen here with the asbestos, and then also work with the village as far as what they want to do.
Well, you know, where I've come from on a long and talking with Phil on this is to use force account on a good deal of this. In other words, and maybe this doesn't work well with what we were thinking. But the fact is that if the contractor could remove, for example, all the asbestos, we could identify what that cost is, and then he could knock the building down after the asbestos is gone, and then we could fill in over a period of time to haul it away ourselves. And so we would just do parts of the RFP that we had designed and not the whole job. Because we don't have the money, I'm going to share with you right up front. We don't have $400,000, nor are we going to have it anytime soon. Not when we're losing $500,000 a year on mortgage tax, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the price of asphalt jumping off the chart and all the other things that go on. So, but I think if we can get this building down, fence it off, the safety situation is remedied. But this is why we and the village board need to sit down, eyeball to eyeball, bring all this on the table. But we are maybe going to need more definition from these vendors and what they're proposing.
Yeah. I did mention, I know we've had this discussion, so when I spoke with Sean, I did mention those issues because I knew it was a high figure. I knew we didn't have the money. And in the back of our minds, we talked about force account. So I said to him, you know, well, what happens if we go back to B&G and say, well, we're going to modify this now. We're going to want you to take out the asbestos and then just knock the building down. Or actually, what I actually said to him is, he's going to just take out the asbestos. We'll hire the excavator with the machine. We have some guy who operates an excavator, right? Yep. He can knock it down. And I didn't even think about leaving it there or carting it away, or the village and the town carting it away. What he told me, Dennis, you might have some input on this as well, is that you're changing the RFP.
It's a new project.
So therefore, you know, I mean, you can talk to the guy, and the guy may be willing to do that.
Yeah.
But he certainly doesn't have any obligation to do that.
No, and you're also subject to the other applicants, Taylor and anyone else.
You gotta go back out again.
You gotta rebid.
Okay.
It's material.
You can't
Project
go
fee.
to the low bidder at this
Well,
point now.
Correct, and negotiate.
The game has changed.
Yeah, but we now have base information.
Absolutely, you've got this
That's
back.
really what we were looking for to begin
Exactly.
with.
We now-
300,000 or 3.5 million.
Right.
So
But now we know
we've
what
got
it
a
costs
range
to
and
build
base
it.
It sounds to me like you're gonna need a little bit more engineering done on it to determine the extent of the asbestos.
Well, we had that studied one. We had it studied twice.
We were told there was.
But every comment I've seen is that it was insufficient.
Well, I don't know if they got the right, there were two reports.
Okay, they got
One was
both
done
reports,
years
yeah.
ago, and then we paid when Honey was the supervisor, we paid somebody to go in, to boring, this, that,
Well, they bored it.
you know. So we have that engineer, we spent money for that.
I don't think anybody's added any asbestos, so.
No. I think we would,
Why would
Over
there
the
be
years.
such indefinite response to that? Unless they have.
I don't know whether they.
I think one of the things that was either said here or maybe in my discussion with Sean was the asbestos game changes depending on the year. So what was not considered asbestos, or you could leave, or you could just knock it down in, say, 2009, in 2012, it may be that, this now is asbestos to the point where you have to take that out as well. So I think everybody's just hedging.
Well, what I do remember, though, was the asbestos was in the furnace room. It was not anywhere else in the building. They did borings in the walls to find out what was in the material and all this kind of stuff. And so, but I had to go dig that report out. But it was strictly in the stairwell leading down to the boiler room and the boiler room. That's pretty specific.
Yeah.
And maybe we need an RFP to go out and say,
Just,
what's it going to cost to remove all that?
Yeah.
And then we'll figure out how to take the building
Right.
down all the way, or grind it up.
And much like your manholes, you may have to, if you will, segmentize it into separate
Yeah.
bits for both.
Yeah.
But I think it's what Phil was saying, good. This gave us an idea of what it's gonna cost
Yeah.
for
That's what we were
soup
trying
to
to
nuts.
do.
And
That's what we're trying to do.
Hey Doug, can I
Yes.
just add one thing? Of those bidders, one company came back to get access and went through the building with the report because they were concerned about, obviously, putting their hands on the asbestos that was in there.
Well, they're all.
Which one was that one, do you know?
That was Taylor. There was another one that called
And he's at $649,000, so evidently he knows what's there. Okay.
There was another one that called to ask for access. Sean gave me his name. I don't know which company it was. I called him up the next day and said, let's arrange that. I'll get the gate open for you. And he said he didn't have time to look at it, so.
Well, we may have boiled this down to a whole different area where you may get an environmental group agency that does this particular work that will just come in and do that portion. Never mind a general contractor that might have to hire one. Now we might go directly to one of the companies that does that type of work and get bids from them.
Yeah.
At least we've got a base.
Right. It looks to me like this would be a good discussion between the two boards.
Yes.
And again, if we can do whatever we gotta do to knock the building down so the safety, if that thing is gone, then, and then we can work with it, grinding it up, haul it away, or whatever as time permits.
I'm just warning you, I've had demolition issues recently, and most times you've got to address the asbestos before you can demolish that building.
Well, that's what we're saying. We don't absolutely know that.
Yeah.
But that's the first thing we gotta do, once we get our hands on that.
Yeah.
Then the rest of the building's I won't say a cakewalk, but it's
Yeah.
a whole lot
It's a
easier.
easier deal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, having done that work for many years in the city with my license, yeah,
Okay.
the asbestos first for contracting, make a hole in this sheet rock.
Yeah.
That's their part. The only issue I have with lead paint, that's become a big issue now.
Sure.
In the 50s, when Chapter Land said, rather, lead paint become a big, big issue now about removing, disturbing lead paint. Don't know if that's gonna work a factor in this one, but
I don't know.
It's 78.
the health department really red flag, in Manhattan red flagged everything.
Yeah.
You have to scrape the windows,
Yeah.
put it in the, and then they would send it to
Yeah,
some
you may have some out there, because there is some.
Well, you know
that
paint.
era was popular, we all
Well, it was built in 1934.
Yeah.
You know it's got lead paint, lots of it.
I don't want to throw another obstacle in the way, I'm just saying that somebody may come out of the woodwork saying, some environmental group saying, what about the lead paint? The asbestos, yes, has to be removed before contracting for a whole new wall.
Well, I think that's where Sean's gonna have to tell us what we need to do.
Yeah, you have to look for advice.
Yeah, okay, that's what.
Okay, good comment.
Yeah, thank you.
All righty, well, thank you. That one looks like it'll lead quite a bit more discussion.
Well, thank you,
Well,
George.
when's the
Yeah,
next,
that's good.
do you have a scheduled meeting with the village?
Not yet,
No.
but they got the same report, yeah, it'll be after, yeah. Okay, just as information, talk about hazardous waste. I've got a thing here, it says information, a household waste, hazardous waste collection event is being scheduled for October 12th and 13th, 2012, at the Orange County Fire Training Center, 9 Training Center Lane, Goshen, New York. So, I know that, I always take stuff out there, just, we need to put it in our minutes, it goes online, the more people know about it, it happens, I think, twice a year, so they need to take advantage of it if they've got something.
No, they make a list, the public should list, so the public knows what to bring in, what not to bring in.
Yeah.
With paint cans, with paint, without paint.
They do put it in the paper.
Oh, they do, okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
people-
But I know I've
I would like to
taken
know
weed
myself.
killers, insecticides, all that stuff that was left in the barn, I took it on out there.
Well, yeah, no, it's
So-
paint, once again, it's paint that's usually a red flag here, I know even the Rockland guys, people do bring everything, but red paint.
Robert, what paper do they put it in?
Oil-based paint, they don't make white guys. Okay, that's
I've
one.
seen it in the Chronicle, I used to see it in the record, but it's a county law.
Then you can dump it right off. Yeah.
Did you say the record?
I have seen it in the record, yes.
Because it would pay for us to make sure if we put something in there, because it's good for us, because it's less stuff that we don't pick that stuff up, right, Robert? So we leave it behind. A lot of people just still keep putting it out there, so it benefits us if we can get it out there that they're having this, you know, we had it in the Chronicle or someplace with all local people.
But the county does that.
They do.
I know.
What we're doing is, what I'm just saying, put it on our webpage, so if they go to see the minutes of our
Yeah,
meeting.
I'm just trying to get it.
Sure.
Yeah. Could remember
Yeah.
the people in the village, may not know, we putting the wrong paint cans in their regular garbage and
Right,
not realizing that they're doing some damage.
okay. Very good, okay. Okay, Bill, we're ready for you now, guys.
Yeah. Have my seat.
It's nice and hot.
Nice and warm. Okay, 2 weeks ago,
You wanna come and talk in the machine here, we gotta hear you.
yes, I do.
You want the chair, Bill?
Yeah, you take it away.
Yeah, here, you would, Bill.
Let me grab my other. Thank you, sir. Can I get you some with that? Coffee, light, and sweet.
Chocolate covered donuts.
That's what we pastries from today.
Okay, hopefully you have before you a cover sheet that we've done up for the next meeting. It just gives you an overview of where we moved from September 10th, our first presentation, first draft of the 2013 budget, and where we are tonight, 2 weeks later at this point. Before I go further on it, the normal procedure is tentative budget, which is this one, is due in the town clerk's office on September 30th. That would either be this Friday or Monday, probably Monday, with the belief that 30th is a Sunday. We don't need to be at any particular percentage at the moment for that date. We can be. We have till November 20th that it's adopted to come to where we think we want or need to be. So
When is that date?
September 30th, and
when we have to have it adopted by?
the latest by state law, November 20th.
November 20th.
Right.
Okay, very good.
Okay, on September 10th, we started out with our first draft, potential tax liability to the taxpayers of 9.56%. And we called out about $1.8 million worth of, heavy lines where we thought we could do a lot of work to call out some dollars and continue to decrease our tax burden for 2013. We have done that in these last 2 weeks to get to the point where we are tonight. Out of that 1.8, we've called out about $173,000 just in 2 weeks to bring that percentage down to a little over half of where we were at 4.67%, which is almost a 5% decrease, 4.89.
Yep.
And just highlighting for you the items that we changed, and these were in the A and B funds. We did not touch anything, at least yet, in the DA or DB funds. Not so much there to move, but the heavy lines really exist in the A and B funds, so they're outlined as follows. In the first request or the first pass of the budget, as department budgets came through, there was a request for a new part-time Justice Department employee. That was in the $1.8 figure, as you see. We've removed that these last 2 weeks, and that eliminates $16,000. Another request, one new part-timer in the Assessors Department. We've also removed that at this point for $11,000. That also in the B fund will affect their side also. That's shared between the two funds, so even though I don't list it in the B fund, that's another item. Reducing the engineering budget. As we've gone through, we've had some extra engineering costs with the tax tertiaries, and as such, as we come more to a close, we're realizing that without any real special projects, we can get that down, and we relieve that of about $5,000. Postage budget, which looked like it was going up, but I believe that what we have done when we refilled the postage machine, which will carry us to the end of the year, made us look like we were trending ahead, when in fact, we're probably trending slightly under budget, and we'll be fine. We're going to leave that budget alone and take the $5,000 back out. And the last item there, a big concern always is hospitalization and pension, because we really don't have a lot of control over those costs. I don't have a figure for hospitalization yet. We're currently running under budget for hospitalization this year. Not a lot, but it's good. And we're hoping that whatever increase there is will not really disturb significantly that line. So our other item is the pension costs. I had a higher proposal when the original came in from the state. When the final one came in, it was a little bit less. We were able to go through in the A fund and relieve $26,000 out of that budget.
You say it's final. How final is final?
As final as they tell me, my bill in in February, if we can always believe the state, is always my August information sheet, and that's what I'm going by, and that's what I was told by the state.
About 3 days last year, 2012, before we went public with the thing, and they went from 5% to 70%.
Correct.
Yeah, and I guess now they're coming down, but depends on who you're talking to.
It better depend on protocol, and what we're told by the state is that invoice or that information or that notice that we get is not really an invoice. That's the one we budget for.
Right.
And the proof is that what they told me that last year, that was what our bill was. So they lived by it for last year, so that really should be a good number. If it's not, we'll be back at this table next year doing something different.
Okay.
The B fund, that's a total of $63,000 shaved out of the A fund, at least to this point. In the B fund, 4 different lines, reducing part-time police regular wages by $47,000. When they sent their budget in, they had requested,
I think a figure of $107,000. We moved $47,000 back out on that part-time, and that's regular wages. That's not the overtime or the holiday OT. That's the regular line. Their other item was to put the secretary back, who was at part-time, requested going back to full-time, and we've removed that and left it at the part-time figure. That removes out of the budget 2 weeks ago, $19,370.
But there's no change in our budget. We anticipated a part-time period.
That's correct.
This was just a...
That was their
No,
request.
It's a request by the police to double that, and we said, no.
Right.
We made that position part-time, we're just gonna leave it.
Mhm. Yeah, this first pass tentative budget, these numbers really all come from the departments, and these are the cuts that we're making.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Again, the reduced pension projection for the B fund, we really were a bit closer on that, we're running a little under, so it's still going to be an increase, but it's milder, a decrease, excuse me. It's a milder decrease, so it's down by 4,000 in the B fund. Revenue, which we don't really see revenues go up. We really have a problem every year in the revenues maintaining what we've been doing for the last
10 years or so. Franchise fees, though, however, we were able to go up by 40,000 there. And that's due to a difference in what the board decided they would request in a rate remittance. We increased the rate remittance we were requesting out of a franchise pool.
That's cable vision.
That is cable
And
vision.
a lot of that's because George worked on this a year
Yep.
ago, and it's working to our benefit.
Okay. That gives us a reduction of 110,370 out of the B fund. And so the total budget reduction to date, we've shaved off 173,370. And the memo at the bottom reminds us that we need to remove an additional 82, somewhere between 78,000 and 82, because I've got a couple of small numbers that I noticed that don't need to be in there. That's right around 82,000 to meet the New York State 2% tax cap. And that's pretty much to the dollar, but that'll get us to 1.99 something or whatever.
So we need 2.68%.
Right.
Correct.
So it's around 82,000.
Yeah. And that also depends on which fund we take it out of, because we have different assessable base.
Right.
So that skews what we do. The two backup sheets really is the remake. It was really not even a remake from 2 weeks ago. It just gives you those same categories we discussed. Where was our 2012 budget on those significant lines? Where was the departmental 2013 budget coming in at? And now what is the revised 2013 budget tonight on those respective lines and their respective changes? And so that also comes down. Some of the smaller items I did not include on the front page. They weren't worth doing it. So if they don't come out for specific dollars, it's basically taking the big hitters.
Yep.
You know, we talked last time about unemployment, and I see some of the people we laid off last year. You have them in here, 2013 budget. Is
Right.
that going to be a reality? Or I guess that's something we just need to look at going forward.
I have been out on the website. One of them was, if you retire, and Kevin gave me some information on that. But still, I'd like to prove it by this, what the state's going to tell us based on who the employee is, because there may be some differences to yes or no, the retirement issue. So I'm looking at that one, and I really didn't find it on the website. I have a call into them on that. But also our regular part-timers that either hours were reduced or they were laid off. It needs to be checked into also to see how long that goes. I know there is a 99-week issue out there. At this point, I have to assume that it could go that long for those handful of employees. I think we have 3 layoffs.
Well, I gave that, you better check.
I have, yes. That's what I'm saying.
For information, yeah, what? You better give us that, full of work. Yes.
Yes, they did. Yeah. I don't know whether that's grandfathered.
It
Yeah.
says September, that's
Yeah.
me, but.
That's for you, but.
That's better,
Yeah. So the unemployment will stay in limbo just past this tentative, that we probably won't be able to shave anything until I actually get the information fully in the state on each individual case.
Good, Bill.
Good.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
Discussion on, how do we reduce part-time police regular wages?
What we did is,
Big number, I just wondered how.
There's a line.
well, we got a meeting tomorrow morning with the police. Last year, we had an approved budget that they said we can live by. They didn't live by it, but now they want to increase it much more than it was this year. So we just cannot allow that to happen. So I don't know the answer to it.
Oh, I know it's tomorrow.
But I'll-
No more tomorrow.
All right, good.
But if we don't, we can't get
I'm with you, I
2%.
will.
Oh, yeah.
Fine.
Okay.
I got a question.
Sure.
Second page, going down to the DA fund, where it says retirement, it says, I think it says 39% increment, went from 28 to 39. Why is that?
Actually, that I didn't change that 39% there. I missed that. Pardon me, he's down at the very bottom on the DA fund, retirement.
Oh.
The increase, original projection was 39%. It really is 7 let me be correct about this, 15% on the ERS, 17 on the police. So that percentage number should have changed to 17%.
70%, so that, will that change the 39?
No, the number's correct. We made all the number changes. I've got it in my red ink on the side and keyed them, but I didn't go back and adjust my memo note, so.
So is that the 28, and then you're adding 17% on?
That's correct.
Number 39
But bear in mind also, and we have this every year, between the DA and DB fund, overhead costs, they get allocated across to both of those for the highway workers. Now, since we had almost no snow in 2012, then there were less hours worked in DA due to that fact. There may have been increased hours for something else in DA, but we really kind of wait till the end of the year till we see where that allocation falls out and whether we were close or not. But basically, we try to rejuggle back and forth every year. Sometimes the costs are a little bit higher in DA or a little lower. It's always hard to tell where to put the dollars in the pension and the hospitalization, but we have to reallocate at the end of the year.
And then the last page, second to the last line, went from 270 to 370. Is that for an increase in the road repair?
That's correct, the capital road.
Yep.
Capital road.
There's two things with that. Number one is the cost of the asphalt. Number two is we just have to catch up on our roads. Sure, yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that.
No, that's real, yeah.
The note, and just as an aside, I think we mentioned this the first meeting 2 weeks ago, there was a police car in there in the B fund, that did not get removed, just so that you're aware, that the notice at the bottom. And the correct pension number is 17.6 down there for the police is in the bottom.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay. Bill, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And what we'll do is, George has been working with the medical insurance people, workers' comp people, and liability insurance people. And they'll be getting information, so we're going to be able to get you more accurate data on insurance costs. And then tomorrow we have, Phil and I have a meeting with
I met with Greg Townsend last week, and he has all of the information now, and he's going to get us quotes, I guess, as soon as he possibly can. He's working with another vendor for workers' comp, so we'll have at least 2 quotes, I guess.
Good.
So we'll have competition, that's good. And then tomorrow, we're meeting with Eric, I forget his last name, it's Hand, and he's in relation to health insurance.
Oh, health, okay.
Health insurance, we're trying to get something going on that as well.
And just so you know, on the workers' comp, that came through, their proposed increase for workers' comp came through at 8.8%.
Oh, it
That may
did?
help
You got that?
I have that.
Oh, I see.
The tail claims, they're estimating right around 5%, not the 8.8. So I have it in at 8.8, so we can take a little out of there. If we have to put it, I'll wait until we get whatever you've got going on.
we
Another.
need to beat up on them.
Correct, that's why I wanted to give you those numbers, so you.
Right.
They wanted 8.8% last year, we got it down to 5 or something, so we worked.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Bill.
And by the way, I would like to, for everybody else here, George, the Commissioner of Insurance, insurance is a big deal. And every year, dollars is saved by getting the right insurance companies and doing battle with the insurance companies. So you're doing a good job, George.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay. The next item.
So are you, Bill. So are you.
Bill, drive safely.
Thank you.
And I appreciate it.
Good night, Bill.
Thank you. Item 11 is we're going to have to postpone review request by Meadows of Goshen for reduction of performance bond. I talked, Neil came in, he's just back from vacation. This has not been reviewed with the planning board yet, so it's not pertinent to us. Probably a couple of weeks we'll talk about it. Okay, does anybody else have anything for the regular meeting? If not, I'd like to make a motion, we go into executive session with the intent not to return to discuss a PD personnel case, discuss potential consolidation of the assessor services.
So move. Add to that, if you would, the discussion of tax certs, Turry, Stiskin, and KRG Realty.
Okay.
Did you say Turry, Stiskin, S-T-I-S-K-I-N, and KRG Realty tax certs, specific comments.
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Folks, thank you very much for coming. Roger, thanks for all the hard work getting ready for tonight.
I've been looking in the gardens with woolly caterpillars, they're showing me it's been a very mild winter. And if you no snow.